Alright, hey, let's see. This is just a video where I want to get some thoughts out, the thought process of tackling a boss in Kenna. Usually, I think the bosses are really well designed, and I think the combat system, like in general, in Kenna is amazing. I think they do a few things that we will see in the boss fight, and I'll talk a bit more about. But they really have this this depth in combat. Like looking at it at first, the first thing you do, like just spam the attack button. It's a very simple, basic chain of attacks. But the more you progress into the game, you get different mechanics presented to you. And like here we see, these are action points that gradually fill up, depending on like if you kill off monsters or harvest them from. Yeah, they'll sprinkle out every now and then in combat. I'm playing on expert, so which is the difficulty I think you should play this in if you're inclined to a bit more difficult games. It's definitely worth it. I think it feels like the fights, not only the boss fights but also the general fights have been really well balanced for expert. So we'll go through some things like my action point management in this boss fight. So when I enter here, you see I have two, no, they reset. Let's see, it was a while ago since I played this. Now, and I wanted to get this out. Yeah, so the first thing I do, because I enter the fight with a full action point, yeah, I want to spend this action point by going in and making a rot heavy attack. The rot is basically what you use with these action points. You use your little companions that looks kind of like these, super cute, to perform actions. So if we just before starting the video, if we look at the things you can do with action points. See there, here. This is, yeah, it's fantastic quality, motion blur and everything. Yeah, but you see this 4 pixels here. This blue plant is your HP. It's like your Estus flasks. This is where you would get more HP from during a fight. You don't have any you don't have a potion or anything, and it's such a good tool for design to set the pace and intensity of a boss fight. Like you can make it really hard. There's just to add more of these, more HP if you think it's too damn hard. I think it's and it also feels cool because you use your rot to siphon the health from the plants, and it feels like you're kind of part of the nature, if that makes sense. So we have that element, and you use an action point to siphon. So you kind of want to have almost always an action point ready, so if things get heated, you can siphon the HP. Let's see what other components. I want to talk briefly about the jump, because that's something I found out during a later boss fight, but I've known it subconsciously in each boss fight. But the jump, I think the jump in Kenna it's borderline genius. Usually I hate double jumps in games, because when you get it, you just, even if it's just a little small jump like that, you'll double jump, and then you just, I'm thinking of Castlevania Symphony of the Night, where you just you flap your wings and it looks cool, but the standard jump is almost like, why would I ever use that, pretty much. But in Canada, the second jump has a different property, which you don't realize is a nice thing. At first, you're like, oh, I can't spam double jump. I can't do the jump because the second jump has a way shorter horizontal movement. Yeah, lateral movement, right? But it has a way higher vertical movement. So for platforming, that means that, well, you know, if I were to just double jump, I might not make the platform because, yeah, I just killed all of my almost all of my lateral movement on the second jump, and then I just missed platform. That happened so many times to me in the beginning until I figured out, like, in the beginning it feels kind of annoying, but when you realize that, yeah, this game doesn't want to double tap to double jump to make a standard jump. This game actually wants you to pace your second jump to make you think of the second time you jump. It's a conscious decision. It's not the Castlevania Symphony of Night double tap. I appreciate that hugely, tremendously. But what it also does in a combat scenario, and this is the interesting part that I have had subconsciously throughout the game, but consciously later on. But yeah, kind of by the end, I realized that in a boss fight, like, I started trying out what the different jumps meant to me in a combat scenario. Well, first things off, for the bow that you unlock, when you are in air and you pull a bow, you get into everything goes slow motion, which is really cool. It feels they incorporate the aerial movement so well into the combat, because not just because of random jumping, but this actually has an effect on my fight, and it makes it feel like, oftentimes I feel like I'm double flipping backwards and then jumping up into the air, and I get the slow-mo and then bam, shoot the enemy. But the interesting thing with the jumps and the double jump in the specific case of the bow and arrow is that the horizontal jump, if you just do a horizontal jump and pull your bow, your character will travel quite far, and it makes it hard to aim. So you kind of always, if your intention is to aim in slow motion while pulling your bow, you want to double jump, because it kills the horizontal movement but adds vertical movement, so you get more air time and more control if you double jump. So you'll probably see me, it was a long time ago I watched this video, but you'll probably see me evade back and double jump to get the verticality and less horizontal movement, to more fine-tunely be able to aim at these glowing things, like that glowing thing. Which is another part, like let's leave the jump and move on to another function that I really appreciate. They have these glowing crystals, and some enemies, some minor adds, small enemies, they also have these. And when you aim, it's always worth to aim at these, because these fill up your action point gauge, like here. And for instance, this big one in the front, right in the face, I will purposefully avoid shooting it because it's such an easy target. So it's like an emergency button for me to get more action point. So if I can, I'll try to take out the other ones, like this one behind the arm, or yeah, there's a bunch of other ones. Let's see. I think that's it. Let's just start the fight. So Usually my first my first approach to this fight was to run in, spend my action point, because I know I can gain more action points energy in my gauge, whatever you I'll call it, the action point energy. Let's lower that volume. That was quite high. Sound music in this game is amazing. These crystals give you action points for your evade the attacks. Yeah, always like evade. I just run in to bait him to make an attack so I can evade it, and then use my rot directly after in the cooldown. See here, I did a double flip. It feels like a double flip. This is just a roll, but you know, the actual thing, it feels like a double flip. It's really nice. And you use this parry bubble to absorb this action point. Wow, this went really fast. You know, it took a really long time for me to to kill this boss. So many tries. Like I love Dark Souls, and I can spend a ton of times on bosses. Here, let me show you a thing that I really think is cool here, because the attack just launches so fast, and the anticipation is very unorthodox. You know, this boss has a very big presence. Like usually this is his preferred distance from the player, so you know it covers a lot of it takes a lot of screen space. The anticipation is when it is something that you can feel. You don't even have to look at the boss, but you feel like whoo, it jumps back. Let's see here, boom, that it just like disappeared, and I know that when it does that, very fast afterwards it'll come in with that attack, and it's super satisfying to actually be able to parry that. I don't know if I do it right in this video. It just disappeared. Now I know. Like I don't even have to look at it. I know that within a certain amount of time it'll launch backwards. So you know I can take care of these ads, the smaller enemies, and like instinctively feel that yeah, it goes boom, and then I try to parry it, and it feels, you know, nice. It feels it's very unusual. And you harvest these lesser minions to get more action points. I love the depth in the combat. Like if we can I have a nicer view right there? Oh, that was a nice view. How I have this melee system that I usually in games with long combo chains or whatever, you feel like, oh, this is so advanced and so cool and so. But I feel like Kena has one of the most like the largest amount of depth in a combat that I've played. Like if I compare to Bayonetta or Devil May Cry, I still think this personally, I think this beats them, because it doesn't require you to have played through the game like a shit ton of times on and know all of the combo chains. It gives you basic functionality, and at the same time it gives you depth. Like you have the range, you're outside, like far away with the bow, and you want the height to get the slow motion, but you go into to melee combat, and you have to just look in your environment to siphon HP, and you have to look at this little yellow stones. Like if you see them in an environment, you know that okay, I can keep that in mind when I use my action points for the rot attacks. So will I use my action points to do a rot attack, or will I use it to siphon HP? It's this like constant like resource management intertwined with you know it's like forced distance combat and close like ranged combat and close in usually in games like they oh, you're an archer, okay, let's do a shooty combat. Or you're a melee fighter, okay, do melee fighter. But this has such a like it I don't choose to be a ranged fighter. I choose to do a ranged attack depending on the on what the enemy is doing. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I needed some HP there, so I siphoned. You know, it's like I don't need to keep an action point ready because see, that anticipation is so good. Like it dodged away from me. Boom! It just disappeared completely from screen space. Now I don't have to look at it even to know that okay, I need to be really ready with this parry. Bam! Boom! This is such a cool way to set up an anticipation for an attack. Ew, I'm so crowded in there. Get out of here. This is a really nice feeling, you know, the clear anticipation pose in the air. Just, you know, I'm always ready whenever it's on distance to do the parry. And this feeling, it's amazing. Like, it's the most satisfying thing, even if it's a hit react. The parry, that thing, it feels like you know, when you get hit in Hollow Knight. Boom! But you clearly see that okay, I didn't take that much damage, but my guard is broken this meter. Like I'm not gonna be able to block enemy attacks until this naturally recharges. And there's so many components here that are super great. I love this fight. I think it was the first boss fight. It's very early. It was the first boss fight that I really like. Oh shit! Damn, that was so fun. Took me like 30 times or whatever to get to this point. Yeah, I think that is. Let's just quickly look at its attack. It has the far range attacks. The leap in after you get to this amount of HP, like this one. Is that the only far attack it has? Maybe, because the other one, where it leaps away, it's kind of a close attack. It will trigger the leap away when you're in close proximity, and then it will jump in and smash you. So it's not really a far attack, even though it looks like a far attack. When you get down to this amount of HP, this is your opportunity. They are really nice. Like these opportunities, that's a constant thing in their boss fight as well, where you like, I get to this point, now I get to deal damage, and you kind of want to, like, for this point, I opt. If I was to optimize this to take advantage of this situation, I would have had 2 action points and cleared the minions beforehand. I didn't here. It was kind of earlier than I had. Yeah, then she sticks her hands into the ground, and then Vines comes out of the ground. I use my rot to stun the boss with my action point. So ideally I would have another action point ready, so I could come in here and make a heavy rot attack. Now I don't have that, so. But now I have. Come on, do it. No. Yeah. Yeah, so when you're in close proximity, the boss has like a three, I think a 3-hit chain, quite easily avoidable attacks. Some stomp, some classic stomp. Yeah, the stomp is nice. You know, they have different properties. The AoE. I just love that attack. To me is very inspirational. Where like the boss has this intimidating presence, like always walking towards you, but then poof, it disappears. It's just so good. I think that is it for this boss fight. Yeah, cool. So cool. Yeah, okay. Bye 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 bye.